Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Thursday, May 30th, 2024. I, of course, with Originator Success here with your daily mortgage rate update. The only place on the web where you guys get to join me live each and every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you are looking to get some awesome advice on what's going on with mortgage rates and pricing, thank you for joining me. If you're here live, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget to give us a hashtag replay in the comments. So many of you do that every day. I appreciate it. And it does make a difference. Believe me. Thank you for doing that. So if you're here live or on the replay, don't forget to smash that like button. If you're on Facebook, click the little like button, tag an LO friend that should be watching this, share it in a group. If you like, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and give us the thumbs up, click the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Remember, you can sign up for our free email written lock advice to your inbox each and every weekday morning. www.raylockadvice.com. You can sign up for our text alerts. All right, quick story. So yesterday, I had somebody who had done a dispute on the $7 charge on the text alerts. So it happens once in a while, right? Somebody doesn't recognize the charge. So I call this person and I said, hey, my name is Hammer. I'm with Originator Success. And I'm calling you about your charges for your text alerts. You recently disputed them. And the guy's like, who is this? And I said, it's Hammer from Originator Success. And he's like, what's that? And I'm like, what do you mean, what's that? Like, hello, I'm famous. No, I wasn't. I was like, Originator Success, Hammer, the mortgage. And so we're talking, and he's like, oh, I didn't recognize the charge. And I said, yeah, that happens sometimes, no problem. And then he goes, I said, well, if you're going to continue the service, and he goes, well, I already closed on my house. And I said, what? And he said, well, I already closed on my house, so I don't need the alerts anymore. This was a consumer that had signed up for the text alerts. His loan officer told him to sign up for the text alerts. I said, what did you think of them? Because I've thought about doing a consumer version of these and using it to help our Originator Success members as like a lead gen, right? And the guy was like, oh, I thought they were amazingly helpful. He's like, there's some stuff in there that I didn't understand. I had to Google it once in a while. He's like, but they were really good and it was really helpful. He goes, if I refinance or I'm thinking of refinancing when rates drop, I'm going to sign back up again. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, don't dispute it if you do. So anyway, that's a quick story. Isn't that crazy? Consumers signing up for the text alerts. So if you're not signed up, you're missing out. Even the consumers know that it's awesome. All right. You can go ahead and sign up for a text reminder that I'm going live every day too. And then check us out at originatorssuccess.com and find out more about what we do, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that was just some fun. I figured I was going to share that with y'all. Let's go ahead and see who we got here this morning. And let's see if Siegel is here to tell us what kind of day it is today. So good morning, Mr. Rob Stewart. We got Megan Lindbergh here this morning. Good morning, Brandy Brickler. Great to see you, my friend. Dan Crowley, hope all is well in your world. Ron Siegel, good morning, Hammer. It is National Mint Julep Day. Shouldn't it be on the first Saturday of May with the Kentucky Derby? Mint julep. Mint julep. What is a mint julep? I've never had a mint julep. I'm more of a mojito guy. Love me my double Tito's with cranberry tall. That's kind of my drink. What is your go-to drink? Since today is Mint Julep Day, if you go to a bar, what's your go-to drink? Is it a beer? I like ciders. Don't like beer at all. If it's alcohol, I'm going with, like I said, double Tito's with cranberry. I'm a big guy. I need a double. Don't judge. Double Tito's with cranberry. What is a mint julep? I'm going to have to Google it. Megan said she just had a mint julep last weekend. Bobby's go-to is a wine. Like some wine. You like red or white, Bobby? I'm thinking white. Red is usually with food, right? People don't usually have like red wine at the bar. So like a white wine. My wife likes a Moscato once in a while. Ashley is a champagne or a Paloma. Gotcha, McKay. Yeah. Give you something to celebrate today. Rate's getting better. Yeah. Jonathan's a whiskey. Ron Siegel, classic mint julep is made with a mint leaf, bourbon, sugar, and water. Got it, sir. Got it. My wife would like that. She's a bourbon drinker. I'm not a bourbon guy. Rob Stewart's craft beer guy. Bobby said white wine. Whiskey sour, Mitchell. Whiskey sour. I'm with you. Yasmin Martin, pina colada or Moscato. I love me some pina colada, Yasmin. Nice, sweet pina colada. John James, always beer, but dry. Are we still suffering the Tuesday 5-year auction losses? No, they've actually rebounded on that. All right, let's get back on track here. Morano's got us focused. Jerry Miller's Captain Morgan, Spiced Rum, and OJ and Sprite. I think we had that drink, Jerry, when I saw you, when I visited you a while back in Sacramento. All right. Yeah, don't sweat it. Ashley said she's got 5 floating. Her anxiety can't handle this bipolar market. But I do got to tell you, though, Ashley, it's all about sentiment. I was actually going to kind of talk about this today anyway, so this is a great thing. So let me show you guys what's going on. Let's talk about market sentiment and why things creep and where they go. And sometimes you guys are seeing the hit on your rate sheets a little bit more than what I think I see here, because I don't actively, block loans these days. So, all right, let me go ahead. I'm going to pop this down. Let's bring this back up here. So right now, 10-year treasury yield back below the 4.6 mark, which is good. So 4.56, 4.57. You could see it up here. I'm going to probably have to refresh this screen. Yeah, I'm going to refresh this screen so I could zoom in, right? So the mortgage-backed securities are up about 20 basis points, but it's a step in the right direction, but it's not a reversal. Don't get too excited, Ashley, because we aren't likely to see rates continue to improve too much unless, and again, it's a big one, unless next week's jobs data. If the JOLTS comes in weaker and if the BLS data comes in on June 7th, then we will be in a good spot. So, all right, take a look at this trend with the 10-year treasury yield. You can see that we were pushing right along the 50-day moving average. Here, we just bounced off of it, blew through the 25-day moving average. I'm not a big fan of a 25-day moving average. I don't think it really gives much support or restriction. We're back up to basically the 10-year treasury yield is the highest it's been since April. And we spent all of April in here. And if you want to go back and look, when April was back when rates were at like 7.5. So, we were up at 7.5, 7, whatever. So yesterday it showed them going up to 7.34. That was, rate sheets are a bit high. That was equivalent to where we were on like May 2nd. Let's take a look and see May 2nd. Let's see where everything was. So on May 2nd, 10-year treasury was at 4.58. And May 2nd, let's go over here. It's even lower. That's why. Okay. So May 2nd, we were in the middle of an improvement and we were at 99.78. So it shows you yesterday at 99.70. So generally, when you see this correspond to here, right? And you look at bonds, you can see that bonds are very much in that same level. So with rates moving, kind of today is a day of where they're catching their breath, but it's like these green ones here. We're not going to see a bounce up yet because sentiment is not in that direction yet. All right. We're not going to see a good reversal and see things improve until the jobs data comes in. So what does that mean? Well, again, if you've got loans that are closing in the next week, well, that would be bad, of course. 2 weeks, we're still 9 days away from the jobs data, so it's not enough time. So we need a good jobs data. When I say good, weak, one that shows that the labor market is softening. Now, Ron Siegel has given lots of points, sometimes from Danielle DiMartino Booth and from other sources about how the jobs market really is kind of weak. So here's the deal. When we look at what's going on, of course, it's directly related to mortgage bonds. So the pricing, the improvements, the losses, it's all going to be on mortgage-backed securities. But watching that 10-year treasury yield, watching mortgage-backed securities improve and either it go up or come down, what's kind of causing that? Well, it's the overall market sentiment. It's which direction things are going. And let me see, this was a good article in the Wall Street Journal about it too, right? So let me make this a little bit bigger, and then we'll let me see if I can. Here you go, and I'm gonna pop up next to this. All right, so here you go. Unexpected surge in bond yields has put pressure on stocks in recent days. Yields, however, drifted lower overnight, fell further Thursday morning after the release of somewhat soft economic data, providing some relief to markets. And that was yesterday. The data that came out yesterday was a little bit better. But the U.S. economy's growth in the first quarter was revised down to a seasonally and inflationally adjusted annual rate of 1.3 from 1.6%. So we've got I'm sorry. The release of data was this morning, rather. This is the GDP data they're talking about. And let's take a look and see what. So Treasury yields fall after GDP jobless claims. So we've got some improvement there. Let's pull this in and I'll make this fit the screen. Treasury yields fell as the latest economic readings bolstered speculation. The Federal Reserve will have room to cut interest rates this year. And that's what you're going to see over and over and over. Every little report, it's a sentiment shift, right? And it's, basically it's almost like if we had a dial and it goes one way or it goes the other. And depending on which way markets are leaning for Fed rate cuts is exactly where mortgage rates go. So if we compare this to yesterday, again, even a month ago, there was a much higher expectation, 27%, that we would be exactly where we are now at the end of the year, that there would be no Fed rate cuts. There's still a 17% probability of that, according to Fed futures. Yesterday, that was 21%. So rates were, again, sentiment was a little worse yesterday. Rates was a little worse yesterday. Today, a little bit more of a sentiment here. You see this blue line under 4.75 that we could have 2 rate cuts. Whereas yesterday it was only for 32%. It's not a lot, but it shows you where the sentiment shifts. When we see sentiment towards the idea that the Fed could cut rates, and that's all based on the data. In order to see the Fed cut rates, we need to see labor market starting to soften, the economy starting to weaken, and inflation continuing to reduce, to come down, to progress, right? We're not going to see deflation, which is negative inflation, but we're going to see disinflation, where inflation numbers come down, and the Fed wants to get them closer to around 2%. Now, the next big we're going to get PCE data tomorrow morning. I've seen a couple different reports on how that data is going to come out. Is it going to help bonds? Is it going to hurt bonds? I believe it should at least give us a little bit of help. So I would cautiously float everything today and see where we go. You're going to see rate sheets improve quite a bit because we are seeing mortgage bonds that are up 22 basis points now to start the day. And if you look here, I'm going to put my head out of the way so I can make this full screen for you. I want to show you guys this a little bit bigger. All right. So if you look here, this is a 5-day. Actually, let me get my head all the way out of the way. I just got to put a caption up and there you go. And all right. So if you look at this 5-day chart, right, you could see that we were doing really well here on the 24th, which was Friday. Here on Thursday, we lost ground. Remember on Thursday, we lost ground because of the data. And then we kind of weakened up a little bit. Friday, we recovered quite a bit of that. Market ended at 2 p.m. That's why you see this straight line. It was closed on Monday. Let's see if this automatically went to the 28th. So that's Tuesday, right? So now on Tuesday, this is actually a 6-day chart because it's the last 5 sessions, right? So Tuesday, we started out doing really well. See, it was flat here. Pricing came out, it was like 940, 950, and we were down just a little bit. Not a huge thing. And then, but through the day there, it just really continued to lose ground. Yesterday lost a lot of ground, but look at how it started to recover, right? We kind of saw this. And this V right here is important to me because it shows where traders are kind of drawing a line in the sand. And you could see here what it looks like on the candlestick right here. See this candlestick, this red candlestick? That was yesterday. So the tail, the long, thin, skinny part here, that was the worst that we saw, and then it recovered and it rebounded. That's a good thing. That's a good sign. Now, we bounced and we ended the day here at 99.70, and if you look over here, you're going to see that 99.70 is, that area 67, 99.78. So if we draw kind of a line right about here, that's where we were. We'll see if that's good that we bounced back above that and we haven't continued down into this realm. Now, again, I still stand by what I say. I don't think we're going to see any big rocket up and improvement, but we could see more improvement and get back into this range above this purple line, which is the 200-day moving average tomorrow. If the PCE data comes in favorably. Now, it should come in pretty favorably based on the way the CPI data came in. It should come in at least as expected. Are we going to see a really strong reaction to it? Probably not, but it should be at least somewhat favorable. So unless we see a reversal today, right now, mortgage-backed securities are down are up 22 basis points on the day. If we see a reversal, if this washes away and we get into reprice risk, then you got to consider locking. All right. Otherwise, and again, only if it's closing the next couple of weeks, I would be floating it longer than that. Anything, because June, we're going to get into the jobs data next week. We're going to have the BLS labor data on the 7th. Then you're going to get into the Fed meeting and the CPI data on the 12th. There's a lot going on the next couple of weeks, the first couple of weeks in June, that can help rates improve. And I think we got a really good, I don't think we have to worry about rates really getting negative unless we get really strong jobs data that just destroys us on Friday. And there is risk to that. There's always risk to floating into the jobs data. However, right now, a week and a day away, we got to be very open to it. The last report was good for us. So I like what Ron is talking about too. Not about wine, but about Mortgage News Daily shows 7.34, the 10-year treasury at 4.57. The 2.77 spread is back up again. Recall historic spread is 1.79. Yeah. So what Ron is talking about here is the spread between what we see the 10-year treasury yield being and what mortgage bonds are. When that spread gets wider, it's on, we're looking for that to get smaller again, closer to 1.8, and that would improve mortgage rates a little bit, whereas the spread is bigger. So as 10-year treasury yield is improving, mortgage bonds not improving as much. That's what happens on that. So keep that in mind. But let me know in the comments if I rambled today or if that helped you, if that explanation was at all beneficial. I just, again, just trying to explain to you why we see what we're seeing going. The big thing that we have to wait for is hoping that, number one, tomorrow's PCE data comes in favorable. That's not going to be a big move either way, but it could help us end the week up a little bit better. And if we look at Mortgage News Daily, let me just pull this up for a second, because one of the things I had pointed out is that, so we started the week on the 28th at 7.28. Yesterday we were at 7.34. Today we would be probably closer back to 7.28. What do we lose? We're right back up here to kind of where we ended the day before. So pricing came out, man, at 99. So we're up, 67, about 25 basis points. So from when pricing came out. So that's going to improve it. And if we can continue to get an increase, we're going to basically end the week close to unchanged. And we could get back to that 7 1/8 area rather than 7 3/8 if we get the PCE data tomorrow that comes in somewhat favorably. So thank you, John. Appreciate you, sir. You were the only one that actually replied. Everyone else doesn't care. So if you guys like today's stuff, let me know in the comments. Because I don't want to say I get bored doing this, but I just feel like, why do people watch? You go through this thing where you're like, why do people pay attention every day? Why do they listen? I know it's, do you guys like the new leather hat, by the way? Picked this one up the other day. It's probably going to be a little too warm for it's certainly not a summer hat, but right now it's 52 degrees outside in the mountains. It is chilly this morning. I'll go with a straw hat for the summer, but this is my, early day. Yeah, I actually will switch my hat during the day because the leather keeps the head warm, but then when the sun's out, it's a little too hot. So, love you, Ron. Appreciate you, sir. Ashley said, do we know what caused the stir event yesterday? Couldn't find anything solid. Yesterday was more of a momentum. Bear with me. I went to the doctor yesterday. I'm trying to pull my head back on where everything was. It seems like all of these go way and away. Let me look at my lock advice and see what I wrote in my lock advice, because that will give me a better idea of what happened yesterday and why. So bear with me a second. And I will take a look here and I will tell you, let's see, let me pull this up. I'll put it on this screen here. So let's see what happened yesterday. Repurchase is moderate. Pricing may worsen a lot more this week than anticipated. Lock in near term. Consumer confidence reading was the day before. That came in weak along with the Treasury auctions. That was a big part of it, was that just shifted momentum right here. And then yesterday, you'll see it kind of recovered a little bit. It was just more of a continuation of the idea that the Fed wasn't going to cut rates. You could argue that part of it is that the Fed speakers, but I don't really buy that, especially like Kashkari. Neil Kashkari has been extremely hawkish the whole time. So he mentioned something about rate hikes, but that was the day before. And nobody thinks that he's not even a voting member. So nobody's taking him that seriously. I don't know what else would have caused yesterday's moves. I'd have to look. Let's look at the economic calendar and see what was on there yesterday. Bear with me a second. I'm just taking a peek for yesterday. We had 7-year note auction. Williams' speech. The beige book didn't really move anything. Ron's pointing out one of the truths too is the biggest problem right now is there's so many bonds being sold. The market's having trouble absorbing them, causing price drops to get the bonds sold. That's absolutely a great point, Ron. We're already at 20 minutes, so I won't go too long explaining that, especially on a Thursday. I got to get the markets in a minute out for Black Night. But the main thing here is that had to do with the quantitative tightening, quantitative easing, and the fact the Fed's still dumping off all their mortgage bonds versus treasuries. That's why we're not seeing any improvement on that end. And there's also corporate bond issuance that was happening. So you're seeing some of that too. So that's a great point as well. Checkup went okay, my friend, yesterday. I will go off topic for a second and then I'll wrap up. But just to show you guys, those of you that follow me on Facebook, you probably saw it already because I posted them up there. But here is the X-ray of what I've got put into the body, and here is the suture setup. Ooh, love that. I'm gonna get a cyborg tattoo after all this heals. I think it'll take like a year before you can really tattoo fresh skin, or 6 months at least. But yeah, that's what's in there is all that stuff. So that's what I'm dealing with. So, all right, my friends. Well, thank you for joining me. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And hopefully we've got some good things to talk about with the PCE data and how things come out. So catch you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.